Anybody got anything here this morning, first thing?
Nope.
I have the letter that the sheriff's office wants you guys to sign, supporting them in their grant
Okay.
that they're applying for.
Yeah, copy of it.
I make a motion, we, what's this, it's a letter, just
It's a
approve the
letter of
letter,
support.
approve the letter for leaders to sign supporting the sheriff's office.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded, we support this grant for the sheriff's department. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You
That's all I
anything
have.
else right now? We'll recess, time B.
Hello. I have an extended contract for bioterrorism. Usually they give us a one-year contract, but I guess either the feds haven't doled out the money yet, or the state's behind or something. This is a 3-month contract. So I need it to be signed. Have to do a whole thing for it and all that stuff, but
You said this one's for a 3-month?
September 1st through November 30th.
And the one last time was a year?
September 1st through August 31st.
What's their point of it, I think?
This is supposed to give you funds to operate on for the other stuff
Just get this temporary.
to do. Yeah.
Ooh, we only have a day.
Hmm?
We only have a day.
To do what?
It has to be in by the 28th.
Is that right?
As long as it's postmarked.
Return
fine.
and signed no later.
And Tuesday. Well, I'll make the motion, we'll go ahead and sign this agreement with the bioterrorism.
I second the motion.
Been moved and seconded, we sign a contract with bioterrorism. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I'm gonna use some of this money to upgrade some computers. So, that's what a lot of it's going for. Then I had to spend down the pandemic flu money. It was either spend it or lose it.
There, so the board here.
And so I bought 30 cots and blankets and pillows for an alternate medical care facility.
Did you say this to keep out the those maybe?
They told me they.
Yeah.
out there.
I think once we get the annex straightened out, maybe we can put them over there.
Well, if the facility's gonna be out there.
Oh, that's
So
right.
it'd be a good place for it to be. Just
Yeah.
walk out and pick 'em up. That's all I have.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You nailed it, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll recess.
Only got one thing today, so it won't take but a second. I want to get with the sheriff and the county attorney and start looking at our open burning regulations that we have in place. Right now, the way it's set up, people have to have a permit and all that involved is a phone call. Then when they want to burn, they just have to call in ahead of time. That's what we tell them. And the dispatchers, they kind of tell them yes or no, but if the people want to burn anyway, though it is right now, they don't have any, there's no regulations in place to actually tell people no. And the problem that leads to is basically either it's a free-for-all, you can burn whatever you want, whenever you want, or it's a burn ban. and nobody, even the responsible people, can burn anything. And so we're kind of, in the past, from talking to Harold and Mary Miller and looking at some of their records, in the past, we've been a little bit quick to put a burn ban on. Like I'll say, a week ago, if we wouldn't have got all that rain, by now, we'd probably been talking about one. And if we could maybe just change our regulations where there's actually, to put some teeth in it, where there's, for people that want to violate our regulations, there's some punishment for them, we can probably go longer in a borderline dry spell without having to put a burn ban on and penalize the law-abiding folks that are being safe. Last week we made a fire run for a person that lit a whole bunch of trees on fire and didn't call it in. We got there and figured out what it was, and I told him what the regulations were and that he needed to call in. He said he had it may be some relation to yours, I don't know.
Very likely.
It was a Donna Sutter's place out there.
Very likely, yeah.
He's a contractor for Pratt she hired, so not anything that they would have known about, but he didn't know supposedly, so we informed him. And wind was blowing about 30 miles an hour. We would have told him not to burn it.
Right.
We had 3-foot tall pasture grass about 100 yards north of there with the south wind, and we'd have told him no, and not had any authority really to tell him no. And the problem is then the next day, you know, I had said, we want to burn the house. And I said, we'll call in, you know. Well, he called him about 8 o'clock in the morning and told him he wanted to burn a small shed. Well, it wasn't a small shed. It's a 2-story farmhouse. So we went back out there again. And then yesterday we had 3 different people that, because the wind was high and they were afraid they'd get told no, they lit stuff on fire and then called it in. He said, thought I'd let you know I'm burning 160 acres of wheat stuff. So the problem is the way it's set up right now, folks that do that, since we don't really have any, we've got an ordinance that says you gotta have a permit, but there's really no teeth to it. And
Because
because
a penalty if they burn, is there a $500 fine?
there's a penalty if they burn in a burn ban.
Yeah, they burn that.
But if they just burn in a day-to-day situation where we're in red flag fire danger, but we don't have a burn ban on.
But don't, down at the sheriff's office, don't they tell them if it's too windy, don't you have a restriction of how much wind?
Well, from looking at our ordinances, the sheriff's department dispatchers can tell them that they advise them not to burn if the wind's greater than 15 miles an hour. And there's a state law that says no open outdoor burning if the wind's greater than 15 miles an hour, but it doesn't delineate any fines or penalties or anything like that. So there's not really anything behind it. It's basically like a speed limit without a speeding ticket. I mean, they're violating an ordinance or state law when they do that, but there's no penalty for it. And so I'm wanting to tighten that up where we're not looking at breaking somebody's bank or anything, but I think that we need a structured system in place where if the wind's 30 miles an hour, the dispatchers can officially say, no, you cannot burn that field today. This is why. And then if they do that, there needs to be some repercussions to it. Because the only other alternative is that when it starts getting borderline dry, like it was last week, then everybody gets punished. We put a ban in place because that's the only thing we can enforce, is if we have a ban in place and somebody starts a fire, there's a penalty for that. But if we don't, if there's not a ban in place and the dispatchers tell them no, legally they can really go ahead and do it whatever they want anyway.
So you're saying putting a policy in effect where you have some guidelines.
Yeah,
As a dispatcher, you use and it says this is what our policy says.
Yeah, for example, in Reno County, if you call Reno County, they do the same thing we do. You gotta have a permit. You gotta call into the communication center before you light your controlled burn. You call them and they check the wind speed and they get a report every morning from their fire people. And then they check the wind speed and they tell them, yes, you can burn. If the wind gets over 50, we need a contact number and they'll get a phone number. If the wind gets over 15 miles an hour, we're gonna call you back and tell you to not light any more fires and let whatever's burning now go out because the winds are too high. And they also don't let them burn. There's rules in there about smoke blowing across public roadways, paved roadways. There's rules in there about burning after dark. And if they tell somebody no, or they call them back and they say, finish the one you're on, don't light anything else, and somebody does it, there's penalties listed in there. And they'll send a deputy out there and they'll write
So
a
you
ticket.
do have something you can go.
Yeah, so there's something to go on, and the reason is because 90% of the folks are doing this in a responsible manner. But then we've got that 10% that is setting fires and not calling it in, and then we get to make runs, which not only, I mean, there's a little bit of cost involved from paying firefighters and fuel and stuff, but more so is we're taking a liability of responding to that scene in an emergency mode because we don't know what's going on, and that could have been avoided with a 15-second phone call. So I just want to get it where our regulations have some teeth to it, where if people become a habitual problem, we can remind them to follow the rules. And that way we don't have to be so quick to go to a burn ban and punish everybody. There's a lot of people, I think, that need to be able to burn things off in that controlled manner for their livelihood, for their farming operation.
Yeah.
And I don't want to restrict them. I'd rather do this and have a way to deal with folks ahead of time, like we had to deal with all the problems we had this last week, rather than just say, that's it, no more burn. So, I just, if y'all have any input or ideas on that, I'm open to them, and I'm gonna talk to the sheriff and the county attorney over the next week or so, see if we can look at our ordinances and get something in place.
See, I was under the impression that if you didn't call it in and somebody else called it in and the fire department responded, there was a $150 fine plus time.
They told you that.
That's what they told me.
Well,
So I get,
Yeah.
and it used to be, and thank goodness they don't do it anymore, but every year you would call in to get
Right.
your number.
Now you got a number.
And I've ranged from 4 to 132. And so last year or 2 years ago, they said, "No, just stay with your number."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the funny part of it is that I call in and give them the number, and then they say, "Okay, what's the location?" And I would think that the number and the location would correspond.
But your number, you may have several properties out there, not just
Yeah,
one.
well, I just have,
Yeah, but the other people may have several.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It
So
would,
I say-
it would for you,
I'd say mile 3/4 south of the airport.
but like, I guess using, Leonard Getty's a good example, because this last few weeks, he's been burning off stubble, and they'll page it out and they'll say Leonard Getty's burning 120 acres of wheat stubble, and I'm thinking it's gonna be 3 miles west of St. John on First Street, because that's where a lot of it is, and they'll say it's 7 miles south of 50 and Dillon Road and 3/4 back east, and I mean, he's everywhere, so I think that's why they're doing
Okay.
that. But, all right, well, I don't have any other earth-shattering news for you.
Well, I think it's a good idea, and especially, that way we don't have to, declare a burn ban unless,
Yeah. Yeah, because that's my thinking, is I don't want to I had a couple people asking me a week ago, are we about to have a burn ban because it was
yeah.
dry? And my thinking is, I don't want to put a burn ban on unless we just absolutely have to. I mean, it's just critically dangerous for anything to burn. I don't want to do that. I just soon have some rules in place where we can.
A lot of people just burn their trash barrels out there too.
Yeah, exactly.
And they can't do that, they're burn ban.
They burn their trash barrels and they take all the necessary precautions.
Right.
And I wanna enable those people to continue doing that and just isolate the people that we're having a problem with.
No, that's a good idea.
I thought at one time, if they called in and said, or they didn't call in at all, went ahead and set one, and you had to go out there, that the time that they could
Yeah.
be charged for the time and then
And I
fined.
think that I probably could do that, could just bill them for our time, but I wouldn't be billing them with any statutory authority to do
I
that.
thought we did, I thought like Lee, I thought we had something. in
That's
place.
what I thought it was, but
I'm gonna,
in fact, that's what I've told a lot of guys.
Yeah, I
I
thought.
said, go ahead and burn.
but we're gonna lay out all the ordinances and look at them and see exactly what's true and what's not, because I got 3 different copies of stuff laying around the office from past administrations, so we just need to get it all tightened up.
Probably need to get with Joe
Yeah, and him and I'm gonna go talk to
and, yeah.
the judge too, and talk to Jeff, and we'll just all gonna kinda figure out what we need to do.
All right, sounds good.
So, all right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. The recess.
Drawing.
Okay, Joe, you said you wanted to button now?
We probably need to go into executive session to cover a couple matters that come under the heading of attorney-client privilege.
For how long, do you think?
Oh, 10 minutes. It's very straightforward. It's,
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session to discuss non-elected personnel.
I second the motion.
Been moved, second, we go in executive station for
Attorney-client.
attorney-client privilege. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have this, with this Pawnee County Economic Development, they were asking for a contribution. What's your pleasure on that?
I'll make the motion that we go ahead and submit, their request was $400 toward the
That's what we paid it last time.
400?
400.
And I'll second the motion.
Been moved, second, we give the economic development $400, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anything else to come before the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
The housing opportunities, is still needing 2 board members from Stafford
I
County.
see
Johnny
mine
doesn't want to
declined.
do it.
I'll have to start.
Margot told the gal that she had somebody in mind.
Margot, the city clerk.
So you might follow up with
Okay.
her. So we still need to find people for that. And then do you want me to call Studers about this hot water heater? They're out of county.
Yeah. Aye.
Let me
that's-
try Jeff Meyer again.
Okay.
See if I can get him here this week.
If he's not in it.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about a monument, you know.
Yeah, this,
I just hate to go out of county.
if we don't get something from Jeff Meyer this time, let's just get the thing from
I'll call
Davis.
Jeff again
Yeah.
and try to get him here this week.
Because he is in the county, and he pays taxes.
We don't have any others you said now, we said the other 2 are moved down. That's the only 2, yeah.
I think that's the only 2. Meyer and Davis. You
Since
said
we're
that,
doing electric, I mean, if we're going electric heater, then, hot water heater, then it's gonna have to be an electrician. Is there something about rewiring a panel or something?
okay, I'll call Jeff again.
All right.
Thank you. Anything else?
I make a motion with adjourn.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.
Oh.